2018, a 2-year gap to 2020. The gap may have extended by another 4, but my goodness, this 37-year-old has shown everybody today how to do it. It's about timing, it's about purpose, it's about guts, and he's got them all. That was so impressive. Michael Woods, just hero of this mountain, stood up next to it and indeed chopped it in half, it seems. Mauro Schmidt, nearest man to him, the Swiss champion, comes home. Marc Soler, we don't know where he's going to finish. I don't think he does either, quite frankly. But what we do know is we've got a great winner of the day, Sean.
Well, yes, this terrain really suited Michael Woods in the end, and he worked it quite well tactically. He followed the moves that he needed to and got into a position at the beginning of the climb, and wins here. And this man here, Schmidt, he's doing a great ride, considering he was out in the break yesterday, 44 seconds over this sort of terrain. And of course Soler, he comes in to take third, and I wonder would he be thinking, if I had just steadied it early in the day, would it have been a different outcome?
I think the rest of the team will be thinking precisely that. I think as well, Jay Ryan and Brian McNulty will be wondering what went wrong on that descent as well. That's still to be accounted for. There's no accounting for how this man will ride, but Marc Soler always entertains, Robbie.
He's entertaining, but he's also frustrating, because you just got to wonder what he could have done had he ridden a little bit conservatively. Then again, I don't think there was any stopping this man. Michael Woods, you put a mountain in front of him, he will scale it. He does it so well. It's his 16th pro win, nearly all of them at World Tour level. It's his 4th Grand Tour win and the 3rd at the Vuelta. What a ride. Now, on the other hand here, the struggle is real for O'Connor.
Just look at the suffering. Roglic with good company here with Enric Mas. Kuss has just now been backed out of this one, as you can see. Some very good riders further down the mountain, including, of course, our raid leader, Ben O'Connor. Let's see what the margin is. We'll roll the clock when they cross the line, but we'll be crossing out quite a few. David Gaudu struggling today. Richard Carapaz likewise, but we're hunting for Ben O'Connor. Goodness me, and here he is, Sean. It's a lonely place in this scenario.
It is a lonely place and a difficult place to be, but you have to just keep on, fighting here. And with the teammate Felix Gall here, setting the pace for him still. We can see the riders just up in front. You can see Dunbar just going around that corner, and other riders look like they're not far out in front, but because of the steepness of the gradient here, there's many seconds between the riders, and still 2.5 kilometres to go here to the finish. I think that's for the Roglic group, I would say. So yeah, it's a long way to the finish here, but yeah, Ben O'Connor looks like he's got into the rhythm a bit, because it looked like it was going to be a huge loss earlier on, but it's difficult to calculate what the time gaps are at the moment.
Around a minute and a half we're hearing between Roglic and indeed Ben O'Connor for now, so that would effectively half the advantage that Ben O'Connor has. He may still be in red at the end of the day, but this does not bode well for deeper into this race as the tough days come thick and fast. Christian Rodriguez now leaving Ben O'Connor behind. Oh my goodness, and this is Roglic in his pomp at the moment. Just a couple of bike lengths from, to Enric Mas. He sees this. Now, what will be his response? Change of pace as well, and Roglic kicks on and Mas can't respond. Oh my goodness, this is a big moment, Robbie.
Yeah, massive moment, and you only got to let go by a tiny bit and give the hint of suffering to Primož Roglic, and he will just dig deeper and distance you. I mean, just an idea of how comfortable that Primož Roglic was even after his attack. He thinned the group down. He only had Mas and a couple of others with him. He was fiddling around with the head unit on his bike, so his bike computer on the front. He had one hand on the top of the brake lever, the other hand fiddling with the computer trying to get it set. You can see it there right between the handlebars, where he's got everything set now, and he's also set to really reduce this gap big time to the leader of the race, Ben O'Connor.
He set sail. This is absolutely remarkable. All the effort that Enric Mas did, I think it was tactically an error that Movistar did so much work. We said it was probably going to help out Red Bull, Bora Hansgrohe. Did they believe that the injuries to Primož Roglic would start to raise themselves in our consciousness? Well, right now, there's a few that, I don't know, could do with a sniff of the vapours, for goodness sake, to regather themselves. This is a huge weight this man has to lift. It's himself, Sean.
Yes, it is himself, and it's really interesting to see where his teammate is. Is he ahead or is he just dropped off the rear here? But you can see everybody is pretty much on their own, and it's all about just fight all the way to the finish here. And when you're in this position as a leader, you have to be able to just take that on board and use your experience and just push to the limit and go all the way to the line, and no more you can do.
Adam Yates has now got up onto the back wheel of Benno O'Connor. Adam Yates was struggling a little bit further down the mountain, and indeed this is turning into a country mile. My goodness, Utrecht is also part of this group, but it is not a merry band of brothers at all. Certainly not if you're Ben O'Connor. They're sitting on his wheel at the moment. Meanwhile, Primož Roglic, he's probably got a note on his bike. Don't forget to mention how bad your back is at the end of today. Well, he seems to have just thrown that kind of question into the bin. He's riding like a man in control of all his physical attributes, and he is making life very difficult for some amazing riders here, Robbie.
Well, he's been cagey in his interviews, and he's only been confirming what has been obvious in stages gone by. But what was very ominous is when, at the bottom of this climb, right before the steep section, he got his entire team to go to the front, not just in a fight for position, but the fight to light things up, to break this race apart. As soon as the others saw that, they would have said, uh-oh, Primož is on a good run, watch out.
Adam Yates just rounds Ben O'Connor. He distanced him, watching Primož Roglic at the moment. But Ben O'Connor, I think, is now fighting. Well, I know he's fighting to hold on to the red jersey. Can he possibly do it today? As a minute and 40, I believe, between Primož Roglic now and Ben O'Connor, and possibly a wider margin than that. Some time gaps just being offered up, a little bit sketchy just for the time being. But there's no doubt about it, Primož Roglic knows that every second counts when it comes to a Grand Tour, and the difference between the pair of them at the moment, even in terms of demeanour, is absolutely vast. Kilometre to go. It seems, for the man on your picture at the moment, but still amongst the toughest part of the climb to be dealt with, Sean.
Yes, well, I think it's going to be tough all the way. This climb was always going to be a real test from that 5 kilometres plus to go. The gradient just started to kick up, and it was real high gradients all the way. And when you're finishing at the top, it's just a full-on effort all the way here, and that's what everybody is doing. And yeah, the ones who have got that little bit more energy are starting to create the gaps, notably this man here. We can see, all in ones and twos all over this mountain here, but this man is the strongest, and Enric Mas seems to be struggling quite a bit there.
Everybody queuing up to have their piece of the cake, and the man whose plate it's sat upon at the beginning of the day, Ben O'Connor, is not to be seen within this shot, and that magnifies really what has happened. It's a detonation of that advantage, Robbie.
Yeah, it's just being blown apart. And we said a steep climb like this is what's been the weakness for Ben O'Connor so far in this Vuelta. When they're really steep gradients of 12% and above, that's when Primož Roglic can really do some damage and take a massive chunk of time out of Ben O'Connor. He's done it time and time again on the steep climbs. O'Connor, he would be hoping he could just minimise whatever damage is done and wait for the race to get on the longer, more gradual climbs. But Primož Roglic, this looks like one of those stages where he's starting to take a mortgage on the jersey that is for now still on the shoulders of Ben O'Connor.
Gosh, even the wide shot here doesn't account for everyone spread over this mountain, Sean. But they're wrestling it, aren't they? Was that Ben O'Connor at the side of the road?
No, we can see Enric Mas there. He slipped down a number of places.
was there, yeah.
He slipped down a number of places, and we can see Landa, who is on the road here, and we can see it looks like Astrid, who was up there in the breakaway. We could see him. He was at a standstill there some moments ago. He's trying to do as much as possible for Mikel Landa here. And yeah, the man who tried to follow Roglic looks like to be losing places. A number of riders have went by him already.
Goodness me. Richard Carapaz, I think it was, that was having a wobble at the side of the road, bless him. He'll be regathering himself. In fact, Carapaz has picked it up here. Look at that. That's Mas just ahead of him. Oh my goodness, there are bodies everywhere, including those who would be part of the break a little bit earlier on today. They've all been snaffled, or a majority of them have. Mas kicks on here, but I think he's given himself a good kicking today, unfortunately, because of the way that Movistar have approached the climb, and slowly but surely there are others that are coming by to feast upon his margin. Goodness me, what a battle we've got. This is Richard Carapaz now, just about to round Enric Mas. Here is Ben O'Connor, start of the day in the lead. Primož Roglič is just heading to the finish right now. I believe there's about 3 minutes between them. Let's wait and see. We're going to get that margin in a few moments' time. Roglič comes through the hoarded section. Nothing up for grabs in terms of any kind of bonus. That's already sailed long away. I'm fascinated to see where Mikkel Landa finishes at the end of today. Such high hopes on this kind of terrain for Enric Mas. Has he misjudged it? We'll ask the questions at the end of the day. What we know is that Primož Roglič shows an enormous amount of strength at moments such as this, and as he hooves up riders in front of him, more than that, his mind is cast back down the mountain. He knows what's behind him. It's rivals, that is, for the title that he so covets. He wants to make it 4 titles overall at La Vuelta, and the way he's riding, it's hard push to find anyone who could possibly deny him. Every single stroke counts. Start the clock, for goodness sake. Roglič is home, and this man, I'm afraid, the house is burning down by the looks of it. 500 metres to go, possibly amongst the most difficult he's going to have to do in his entire career. Mas responds back with Richard Carapaz and the wheel. There's Sepp Kuss as well, just rounding the corner. Oh my goodness, we've had a huge test today. We knew it was going to be as far as the GC is concerned, but what answers will we have at the end of the day? Well, it depends on the question, of course, but the man asking all of them is Primož Roglič. Of everybody else, that familiar look of a grimace from Enric Mas. It looks like a grin, but that was wiped off his face, I'm afraid, by Primož Roglič midway through this climb. And there are others that will start to think about that spot behind Roglič. And a great result for Richard Carapaz as well on tough terrain, where it looked like he was fading on occasion. He finishes just ahead of Enric Mas, and they have just about a minute down. Here is Ben O'Connor. He's made a phenomenal effort to pick this one right back up. My goodness, he could still be in the lead of this race by the end of today. He knows that as well. He's battling to stay in red. This is so valiant. My goodness, no teammates around him. They've been protecting him over the last few days. And right now, the only questions he can ask are of himself and the last few meters to bring this one home. And hopefully, he would stay in red. It's a minute and a half, minute and 40, that kind of margin to Primož Roglič. But goodness me, as he wrestled his way up this mountain, and that is as valiant a defence of the red jersey as you're likely to find. He has had it all thrown on him over the last few days, including some quite barbed questions from journalists. Well, he's got a little bit of an answer here, and he's going to stay in red. That was amazing.